Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I'm your host, as always, Chad Porto. And joining me is the glorious one himself, my co-host extraordinaire, Marcus Green. Marcus, how are you?
Yes, sir. I'm good. Monday night, you guys know what time it is.
I keep wanting to call you Marcus P. Freely Green. I come up with like a fun, cheeky middle name for you. And I don't know why P. Freely is always the name I think of.
Freely? Random.
Well, it's like the Simpsons running gag where it's like, is there a Freely here? An IP Freely. Guys, I really need to IP Freely. Then Mo gets mad at Bart. Oh, you little son of a bitch. Is there Amanda here? An Amanda hug and kiss? Amanda hug and kiss. I need Amanda hug and kiss. I'm sure you do, Mo.
That reminds me of the Austin Powers thing. My name is Ivana Hompalas.
Oh yeah, excuse me. What's your name again? I'm sure you do, baby. I'm sure you do. I have not seen Austin Powers since the first time I've seen it. And part of me never is going to watch it again. Because I remember sitting there like, when did that movie come out? 98, 97?
Something like that.
Who was the British chick in that? She was the devil from Bedazzled. What was her name?
Elizabeth Hurley.
So 11-year-old Chad finally saw what Elizabeth Hurley brought to the table. And he liked it. He liked it a lot. Then they did that scene where they were naked on their honeymoon, and you kept thinking that maybe you'd see her boobs. And then you got a picture of boobs, but they weren't her boobs. And then the scene ended, and I remember sitting there going, motherfucker.
Then they did another shot, and he put 2 melons up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was like 2 melons, and then like a basket of something, and then like a picture of boobs, and then like bread and bowling. I think there was literally like 2 bowling balls at one point. And like every time it would just be covering her, and I was sitting there like, getting angry and angrier, and I was like, "Oh, this is some bullshit." And then I saw her in Bedazzled, and I was like, "Hard to say, I wouldn't sell my soul." 13-year-old Chad was a lot more sophisticated. He was at least going to get a date with Elizabeth Hurley before he sold his soul to her. 35-year-old Chad is far more intelligent than both. He'd make sure that he went all the way. Elizabeth Hurley, I love you. You're gorgeous. And she's one of the few women who has an accent that I actually like. Like her, there was a blonde chick from the last season of Scrubs who was Australian, and I really liked her accent. Oh, that did things to me. Then I hear Becky Lynch speak, and I want to take a plunger to my face. Or little really, is that English, Becky? Every time somebody goes, she's a great promo, I'm like, motherfucker, you can't understand her.
Yeah, to this day, even though I know she's from New Zealand, I love how she sounds as Xena, Lucy Lawless.
Oh, yep, nope, that's another. Well, I won't say that her accent does anything for me, but it doesn't do anything to negate me either. Like, every time she speaks and locks eyes with me, it's like, yes.
I'm guessing these ones that you like is on the opposite spectrum of somebody like Sofia Vergara.
I don't mind Sofia Vergara's. Like, Fran Drescher's. Ugh.
Oh my
that
God.
nasally. All right, calm down, Sethica Rollins.
Sethica Rollins, yo!
But like Sofia Vergara, like when she's not being overly animated, has a very fine, very gentle accent. So she definitely hams it up, and that's fine. But it's like when it's nasally or when it's like marbles in your mouth, like that's when I'm just like, no. Russians. Oh, okay. Russian chicks. Yes.
So yeah, so Lucy Lawless and Xena could get me. And as obnoxious as the accent can be, Scarlett Johansson's, I guess, Jersey Girl character from Don John.
Marcus, what has happened to you?
It's because it's Scarlett doing it. Like I'm fascinated. Like I'm already turned on by Scarlett, and I'm turned on by the fact like she's really trying this right now.
But she couldn't do a Russian accent.
Hilarious. You're not wrong.
What's her name? Pugh? What's her name? Pugh?
Florence Pugh, her sister.
Her,
Florence Pugh.
her quote unquote sister from the movie. Her Russian accent isn't sexy, but it's hypnotic. Like when she does it, I'm like, all right, read the encyclopedia next. Like I've always mentioned this, and I'll repeat myself. I'm very tonally, I don't want to say stimulated because that sends the wrong idea, but like specific sounds, music, certain rhythms, cadences will soothe me or aggravate me.
Yeah, you don't go out and seek out ASMR videos.
No, especially not that, because that whole let's do a little time of discussion. Like that makes me want to take a fucking knife and shove it into my ear because I don't need to hear that.
That's when you get the Space Ghost beams from Chad, that ASMR shit.
That's when I start eating people like my nephew, because like if I'm gonna be anyone in Space Ghost, it's gonna be Zorak.
Oh my God.
I am the lone locust of the apocalypse. Think of me when you look to the night sky. So, no to AMSMR or whatever it is. You know the other one that really just grinds me up? Whenever I watch like a pop commercial, or for you baptized Christians, you fucking heathens, soda. And they pour like the drink and it's like, I'm like, oh no, turn that shit off.
It's like pouring it makes them feel like pouring it and getting the sound with it makes them feel accomplished.
Right? Oh, I hate that. Like, no, because like they have like a super microphone on it to amplify it. Oh, I hate that.
The only time that works for me, and because it's a comedic bit within the show consistently with the character, is Urkel. Shh, not when I'm pouring.
Yeah, that's different though, because it's not the actual sound. It's a sound effect like sound.
Yeah.
The actual sound, and there's like nothing wrong with it. Like if that's something that you enjoy, that's cool. But like I think it's because like it interrupts itself, because like as it pours it out, bloop, 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 bloop. And I'm no. I don't know why it bothers me, but it does. Sounds and tones and whatnot, it can get me. So that's why I'm not a big fan of Becky's accent, because like whenever Becky speaks, it feels like someone's shoving like 1,000 pins into my spine at the same time, and
it's
not
like
in a fun way.
It's like that challenge when people be like, see how many marshmallows you can put in your mouth and still talk.
That doesn't gross me out, but yeah, it's like, why would you do that? One of these days, I'm going to see someone doing that, I'm going to slap them. I just want to see what happens. I don't condone violence, but it's science.
It's science.
So, like, whenever, like a chick I'm dating does, like, the little cutesy, like, please voice, I'm done. I'm done. Ironically, whenever I'm babysitting, like, a relative who pulls that off, I'm like, bitch, who you talking to? I ain't the fun uncle.
Yeah,
I'm in the you in bed by 7 eating my vegetables, uncle.
Another thing, yeah, we got in common with the chicks. We don't like tats.
Nope.
Detest smokers. And nothing like it's. If you ugly, I don't care. But if you're pretty, it's like, why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I hate pretty girls with shitty laughs.
Oh yeah.
The worst. So, like they have that, like your car's trying to start, but it times out.
My favorite was this girl sounded like a donkey. And like she was a mean person, a vicious, violent, mean person, and I had never heard her laugh before. And like I said something funny because I'm fucking hilarious, and she goes, and I'm like, the fucking fight of the donkey bitch in here, and everyone starts laughing. And I said, you're an asshole. I'm like, I'm not the one who just told the bitch she was too fat for her dress. I think you need to go check yourself.
Who brought the donkey bitch in here? That's hilarious. That's instant karma. Like
Yeah.
after her laugh, you give her like the second.
And like she was
Oh,
like a 9, like a 9, 10, like she was. But then you heard her laugh. Well, actually, you saw her personality first, and that dropped her to a 2. But then you heard her laugh, and you're like, who are you to make fun of anyone? Like, I know what I am. I know I'm basically a rejected Hobbit's character. Like, I make no apologies to that. At least my feet. No, my feet do have a little hair on them. I was about to say, at least my feet aren't hairy. There's a little, and not a gross amount, just like a little dusting. You know, I have as much hair on my feet as LeBron does on the front of his head. Ow! Speaking of which, the NBA is getting wild, man. Kevin Durant wants to trade or his entire front office fired. And the owner's like, that ain't going to happen. So now I'm just going to sit here and go, oh, can't wait to see how Brooklyn blows up on itself. Serves you right from moving to New Jersey. And I don't know why I'm ripping for New Jersey, but I digress. We have news to talk about today. Took us 11 minutes to get to it, but we got news. One of it's already on the screen. Killer Kross back in the WWE with Scarlett Bordeaux. Killer Kross has some pretty weird-looking hair. Kind of like Scarlett Bordeaux. Neither are bringing their BDSM-inspired gear to the ring anymore, which is great for Killer Kross. Not so great for Scarlett Bordeaux. I don't have a problem with them re-signing them. They're not going to re-sign a bunch. I keep seeing fans going, you know, they're going to just re-sign so-and-so, and now there's going to be a bidding war with AEW, and I'm like, Vince McMahon didn't make the decision to fire these guys. How is that lost in the narrative? It was Nick Khan. Nick Khan's the CFO. Nick Khan's the guy who's watching the financials. Nick Khan's the guy who's making the company as viable as possible for any potential sales. That's why he was brought in. Yeah, Triple H can add a few guys. But the idea that they're going to start a bidding war for Aleister Black or whatever the fuck he's going by in AEW, or for, I was about to call him Mason Ryan, Rusev. I forgot how much they actually kind of looked alike. Or the bidding war for Andrade El Idolo, or if they're going to start buying up promotions again. Like, that's not going to happen. Those days are gone. Yeah, Triple H will bring in a few guys, but I don't know. The amount of people that fans on Twitter are throwing out their markets is staggering and very unrealistic. Because Nick Khan's not going to unleash his checkbook.
yeah. Yeah, it's people getting ahead of it. It's no different from people getting geeked up behind everything that's going on yet again with DC and this transition and merger with Discovery.
Yeah.
You know, this grand 10-year plan about, you know, in DC, and they were like, oh, they finally gonna have structure. They're just getting up there, they're cutting fat, and they, you know, somebody's finally putting their foot down and coming with a direction. I'm like, slow up. That goddamn movie was shot and damn near finished, and they canned it. And they did the same as the Scooby Doo, and I really dug that last movie they did.
I did too. They brought in Blue Falcon and Dynamite.
But had the narrative to go off into the Hanna-Barbera universe. That's not happening. And with the narrative around scripted content kind of being not what a priority is, the concept of nothing but 90 Day Fiancé cooking and traveling shows ain't exactly where my interest lies. But I digress. Getting back to the Triple H thing, look, I think he, much like how he's done with getting a lot of people to kind of get back in goods with the company, to get them into the Hall of Fame, most notably Bruno Sammartino, I think he's going to be the bridge to get a lot of talent back, most of which didn't want to leave in the first place, which I think is both Kross and Scarlett, but they got such a raw deal when they came up to the main roster. It's like, what more can be done to put me into the ground? At this point, all I can do is go elsewhere because there's nowhere to go but up. So I don't think they really wanted to leave. So I don't think it was that hard getting them back. Although it was funny, Twitter making fun of them like, to control your narrative, people probably over there like Dinkelberg. Which,
I wouldn't be surprised if Control Your Narrative is dead by the end of the month. Simply because the WWE rehires all those dudes. I wouldn't be surprised. Here's the thing, though, Mark, specifically about Killer Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux. they have had their entire identity destroyed. So bringing in Killer Kross to fight off with Drew and Roman had a Clash at the Castle. I don't get, because I'm still looking at him as a failed gimmick. Like, in my eyes, that's who he is, and I'm wondering why they're throwing him already in the main event scene. Because as we've always talked about, just being good at being pro wrestlers isn't enough. You need to have a character. So I ask, what the fuck is his character? Angry white guy who screams? Oh, great. So he'll be charging the Capitol on January 6th. But that ain't a gimmick. It's a reality. So what the fuck is he?
He's an angry white guy who screams. Drew's an angry Scot who screams.
But Drew at least is that. He's a Scot.
Yeah.
His ethnicity and heritage is his gimmick. As lame and shallow as that is, at least his off-brand Highlander status is something.
Which ironically plays in the Roman. It's just been done for so long at this point. But people, I mean, the audience still eats it up, which is, is a contributing factor for people like you, me, kind of looking for something different at this point.
The problem with Roman is he doesn't do TV or wrestle enough. And I know like that, his new contract allows him to do that, and more power to him. But, we didn't let it fly with Brock until Brock decided to start dancing with his briefcase boombox.
Which is so weird, because how many times have we had a conversation and so many of these guys are overexposed?
Yep. There's a medium, though, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the answer is take me off TV for 3 months. I think it's don't let me wrestle until the pay-per-view. I think that's kind of the medium. Like, have me do a promo twice a week, or not twice a week, but twice a month, every other week, and then let me wrestle at the pay-per-view. And then I'll do the house shows. That way, his appearance in the ring is far more, emphasized. Impactful, too, yeah. Having them wrestle the same matches every week is overexposed. Having them take 3 months off, not defend the belt when you're the champion, and have no main eventers, severely underexposed. There is a happy medium. And I believe, wrestling, at least the pay-per-views, is that. And the thing is, like, there are a lot of guys that you can put with Roman, even if it's not in a obvious I'm going to go over kind of way, because just having Reigns struggle with some of these guys would make them. Like, have Reigns wrestle against Drew and have him beat Drew in 5 minutes. But then a month later, at whatever the October pay-per-view is, or September pay-per-view, have Chad Gable fight Reigns and have Gable go 20 minutes and then lose by the skin of his teeth. Now, all of a sudden, that even though Chad Gable didn't win, it's like, oh my God, Chad Gable almost took it to the champ, almost took the belt from the champ. He's someone to look out for. And now you've established Chad Gable off the back of Roman Reigns. That's how you do it. It's not a complicated process. I don't know why so many fans want to make it a complicated process. Now that Vince McMahon is gone, I think you're going to find out that's not that complicated of a process. But here's the problem. Triple H is the antithesis of Vince McMahon, but he has the same flaws that Vince has. Once Triple H finds a pattern, he doesn't deviate from it. Once Vince finds a pattern, he doesn't deviate from it. It's great when you have both the Vince and Triple H dichotomies kind of butting heads. Vince books things one way, Triple H books things the other way. So compared to one another, they both seem fresh to a point because they are dynamically opposite in how they're presented. But when you put Triple H's ideas in the forefront and center of wrestling, and you have him book Raw and SmackDown and NXT, I guess, too, the same way that he always booked NXT originally, all of a sudden, this fresh new idea is going to fade away from this idea that it's good and turn into what Vince was dealing with, which is an inability to adapt. And I don't want to sit here and say, well, you don't know that. Bitch, yeah, I do. I've been watching NXT for 5 years. Triple H has not changed a goddamn thing about how he books. And the thing is, like, when it's the alternative, you can get away with that kind of mantra for longer because you're not constantly having to put your foot forward on the biggest stage of them all. But now that you're doing every show, every pay-per-view, every character the same way, all of a sudden that fresh approach is going to get staler than the bread that's in my bread box right now. I don't actually have a bread box. It's a bread drawer. But I don't know how many of y'all know what a bread box is or a bread drawer, but I got a bread drawer. And this bread in there is pretty fucking stale is my point. And that's going to be the problem with Triple H. Is his NXT 48,000 kick-out style matches is going to fucking rain and drain on fans very fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost if we you know, I make a Pokemon analogy, you're talking about like a Charizard level type of approach, which would be fairly easy if you lay out, like you said, characters, the logical storylines, and consistent narratives and match types and whatnot, executions. But because Vince almost the way he books devolves the product to the point where they're like, the audience is like, nah, we don't need it to evolve. We just needed to have like the narrative that is going to evolve properly from a Charmander to a Charmeleon to a Charizard. We don't actually have to get Charmeleon and Charizard because at this point, people are just liking the fact that Becky Lynch turned and won't be looking like something like that Lady Gaga saw and didn't put in her videos.
Yeah.
Or just logically booking people like actual heels, not doing necessarily the 50-50 booking. Like stuff that's no-brainers, people are looking forward to as top tier at this point. Which shows you like just how in the doldrums the product is. So he really don't have to do much. So for a lot of people, getting it to the level that we got in NXT, which I guess for a lot of people, S tier for them NXT was the Gargano Ciampa matches, which just run me and Chad to Nashville to go watch Impact.
They run me to California to watch season 4 of Lucha Underground. What are we talking about?
Exactly, which is not a bad watch at all. But
all right, let me rephrase this. They make me run to Wrestling Society X, which is a bad watch.
Hey, let me see you borrow your Netflix password. Yeah, give me WoW now. But yeah, I don't think he got to do much. Like I said, I think he may very well be the reason why they get Sasha and Naomi back. I've seen the names for the tournament. They're not part of it. Of course, they could just come back and interrupt and supplant themselves. You never know. But I do think he is going to be, a bridge to get some people back. I don't know all the people that the internet is talking about. I think a lot of people are getting ahead of themselves because they think Ding Dong the witch is dead. But I'm like, with the level of in the ground some of these characters and just the product in general is in, it's only so much Triple H going to be able to do. The eager beaver still there, and Kevin Dunn, like you said, the con guy. Ain't he somebody that suggested like a fourth hour Raw or third hour SmackDown? So he clearly.
Yeah, his goal is to make make the company money at any means necessary. Yeah. So if he wants to cut half of Triple H's roster, Triple H doesn't have a fucking say in it. Neither does Stephanie, for that matter, because Nick Khan and Stephanie are in charge of two very different parts of the company, and while they do share equity and equality in their titles, the responsibilities are not the same. And there's nothing Stephanie can do if Nick Khan decides I'm gonna cut some roster fat, because that's literally his job, is to make sure the company is profitable. Her job is to make sure like all the business arrangements are going strong. So going forward, in a lot of sense, Stephanie is the CEO, and even though they're co-CEO, you can think Khan more as the CFO, which the CEO is Chief Executive Officer, while the CFO is the Chief Financial Officer. But in this case, that's essentially what the dynamic is. They don't have ability to supersede one another or interject with one another, but they also don't have the ability to negate one another. They have their own sets of responsibilities, which is why they were both named co-CEO, because neither person is deemed to be good enough in the other position. Nick Khan cannot run the business side of this company. Keeping people happy, greasing palms, making sure relationships with vendors and sponsors, that ain't his jam. That's Stephanie's jam. That's always been what she's been. She's always been the face of the company in that way. Susan G. Coleman, the Special Olympics, whatever the Army, the USO. That's always been Stephanie's kind of realm is the public appearances. Like she does the little galas with the little girls. You can be a CEO because Stephanie McMahon said so. That's not going to be Nick Khan.
Yeah.
So they're going to have different responsibilities, and Nick Khan's responsibility is managing the financials that the company are spending. And it's Stephanie's job to make sure that the company is increasing their profit line to make sure that Nick Khan doesn't need to chop anything. So should those two entities collide, Nick Khan's going to win. Because it's all about making the company money. And that's going to hurt Triple H.
Yeah, I mean, it's I just think people, like I said, the narrative for the creative has been below standard. So just getting it up to a place where they should have always been, to a lot of people, is gonna seem like it's like, they don't reached a new level of execution, and that's not what it is.
Well, we also got to remember one thing, Marcus, and I think this is imperative. We don't know how this company is going to be ran right now. Like this notion that now that Triple H and Stephanie are in charge, it's like, oh, well, now Johnny Gargano will want to come back. How do you know? How do you know Stephanie's not going to be worse than her father? Like, that's the question no one is allowing to ask themselves. This regime could be worse than Vince. Granted, that's a hard fucking bar to pass. But the old saying is, if it's possible, it's probable. So even if it's not something that you're thinking of, doesn't mean that it's not impossible to happen. Already, Triple H reintroduced a character who had no credibility into the main event scene, all because of what he was a year ago. That's not smart booking. And Triple H failed this dude already. Killer Kross's return is already a flop. So it's gonna be something to watch, and I think the next year is gonna be very telling for how this company does, if they're not sold within the next year. With everyone consolidating everything, the WWE will be bought within the next 2 years. I firmly believe that. I think NBC is gonna buy them, and then either find a way to end the Fox contract, or settle up with Fox and allow that deal to expire naturally, and then just bring SmackDown over to their brand.
I know you was going back and forth with people on the fire breathing Twitter machine, quote Bullet Ray, about that potentially not happening. But like, you're not just talking about, when you say everybody, you're not talking about just the wrestling industry. That's been happening all across entertainment. Like when this streaming stuff started, like you knew it was gonna be a war. Then people were gonna get obviously stomped into the ground and then accumulated by other people, which is what we're seeing right now. Going back to my point about the merging with the Warner Bros. And Discovery and all that, that's happening all across the industry. So like I said, this might not very well be different. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't see the Peacock move coming, but it happened because as you were talking about, since the network began, it was leaking money because they did not get the projection that they thought they would get. And they was putting out more money than they was getting in, so it just became more financially feasible to go to Rock with Peacock, and that continues their global expansion plan anyway. So you got that, but yeah, like you said, anything is possible to happen now, specifically with the the Wicked Witch gone. But
and I think the Peacock thing's interesting because Peacock is like, what is it, like $500 million in the hole right now. And like, this isn't new. I was telling you about this 5-6 years ago, like how the WWE Network would not survive. It's too small. It's too niche. Too many companies are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these streaming platforms, and they're not making a dime back. Paramount's going to have to make a real hard decision about some of these Star Trek shows because, one, Star Trek's the only thing carrying their streaming service, besides iCarly's revival, and two, most of them cost way too much goddamn money.
Yeah.
And they're not pulling in the views. Think about it. Like, the only show in Star Trek that has been in the top 10 of most new streaming shows has been Strange New Worlds. Picard and Discovery didn't. Lower Decks and Prodigy aren't. And Prodigy's kind of split up in too many different facets to ever truly be kind of viewed independently as a streaming show, because like it's airing on Nickelodeon right now. Yeah. So like, they're going to need to figure out what to do with their brand because they're in the hole. And this is their second streaming service. And I keep seeing like Chiller and Shudder, they're going to get bought eventually. And, so many of these other platforms are going to get snatched up by somebody. And it's going to happen. There's going to be, just like there were only 4 TV stations, Fox, ABC, NBC, and CBS, there's going to be 4 streaming services. And it's probably going to be Amazon, Netflix, probably Disney, and then whoever survives from the others. And I'm telling you, eventually people are going to go back to terrestrial television because it'll be cheaper to produce. And once you have like 4 streaming services, nobody's going to want to, invest all their time in one service, and prices will go up exponentially, and then it'll eventually eat itself because that's how this works. So things are going to be very weird in 10 years. Don't get comfortable with the streaming and chilling idea of life, because in 10 years there might not be any streaming services due to how expensive they are. The only one that I know is making money at the moment is Disney Plus. And that's not, and you can only make so many Star Wars and Marvel shows before people are like, I'm fucking done. And people are already fucking done with Marvel.
Yeah, it's you're not wrong. And going back to the Star Trek thing, I know Discovery's high as hell. Like, so, just a lot. Like, you're not wrong. Like those, like you said, our card is holding it up. They're gonna be doing, I guess. I doubt they're gonna expand more in Star Trek. You never know, but I think they probably.
They have 2 more shows in production as we speak.
Okay. Well, there's that, and then, I don't know how the Halo thing did for them, but they got a 2nd season. So.
Very expensive and not as well received as they wanted.
Yeah. So it's a lot. And Disney got a lot going for it, but they got a lot around that streaming service that helps that. Where a lot of these other places have pushed almost everything to the streaming service, and like you said, Netflix will still be around, but they hemorrhage a lot of money. They put out a lot of money, which is weird. But I think they may still be in the process of getting sued by their shareholders for like lying about potential profits that they were bringing in, or subscriber counts that they were bringing in. So this is weird, but you're not wrong about in 10 years it's going to be weird, because while the whole streaming thing is convenient for us, it's bleeding them dry, so.
And
yeah.
part of the thing, especially when it comes to actors, there's no royalties anymore. Like a lot of these guys would make millions of dollars on like syndication rights or specific specific kind of what am I thinking of? Kind of like contractual bonuses, where if a movie hits so many viewers, you would get X amount. That's no longer a thing because ticket sales are no longer the same. So it's like a lot of these guys are not making money. And it was Florence Pugh actually was like, we're not making that much money anymore. And she said something like, I was lucky to get on some of these bigger financially stable projects, but streaming has killed the ability to make a lot of money in acting.
It's created an avenue for creators to get content out that wouldn't get big screen opportunities. It's provided another avenue for actors to get more work. But going back to the WWE Network, that got brought up because Superstar was like, how this going to go? Because obviously you would get pay-per-view bonuses and whatnot. And then they wanted to see how that was going to translate to. So I would imagine what ended up happening is they just upped those contracts, which at a point they was putting out obscene numbers to guys who was barely even on the show. And then going back to that whole situation that happened with Warner Bros. When they decided to drop their year's slate of stuff from 2021 on their streaming service, they had to put out, they had to back the truck up for bonuses for those actors, because it was like, whoa, wait a minute, how that's going? Because, if we go to the theaters, that translates differently in my contract, specifically if the box office is huge. So they offset that by giving people a bunch of bonuses that really put them in the hole financially. So you're not wrong. I don't think anybody really sat down and worked out the numbers long term for how a lot of this stuff was going to cause, one of our favorite words from Sons, blowback.
Yeah. You're not wrong. The blowback is real, and we're seeing it in real time. Speaking of blowback, there's not going to be any more blowback for John People Power Laurinaitis. Mr. Laurinaitis will now be collecting unemployment from the people because he has no more power. He was given his walking orders, which you would think was a foregone conclusion considering he was accused of basically sexual misconduct, possibly sexual assault, all sorts of nasty indiscretions. Plus, he's married to the Bella's mom, and I can't wait. Like, I'm not a big drama guy, but I can't wait for that drama. I can't wait for Nikki and Bray to drag Laurinaitis' ass hard. And like, I don't like them either. They're not good people. And I love that Bryan Danielson's like, yeah, I fucking hated filming Total Bellas because it was so fake. And like living in John Cena's house, fuck that noise. And I was like, I like you, Danielson. I like you. You're a good bench. But watching this play out in real time is fucking, I don't even know what the word would be. Not therapeutic. Almost transcendental. I feel like this isn't actually happening. Transcendent?
Yeah,
Maybe.
that might be. Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah,
That's closer.
But this was before he met her, right? Or was it
Oh.
still going? Jesus Christ! Come on, bruh.
So, the woman. Let's see if we can find when Vince made these payments. Vince made payments. Yeah, this is. Where is this? So it totaled $15 million from 2006 to 2022, but that doesn't necessarily mean this specific instance with John Laurinaitis, because he's had more than one. Vince has, I mean. John Laurinaitis, WWE woman. Let's see what we get. Let's see. Anonymous emails, legit investigation in Vince. Maybe this will be what we need. Let's see. The Wall Street Journal reports that a January 2022 separation agreement bars the now former employee from discussing her relationship with Vince McMahon or disparaging him, according to people familiar with the board's inquiry. The woman was hired as a paralegal in 2019. Laurinaitis was returned to the company in 2021. So this had to have been ongoing for well over a year and a half, at least. Because apparently he was given her by Vince as a gift. And he got married to the Bellas in what, 2016? 2015? So yeah, he was married to Mama Bella when he was doing this. See what happens when Animal dies? The minute Animal dies, John goes off the goddamn rails.
It's kind of messed up too, because I think their mom suffered from brain tumors or something, or a brain tumor.
That's fucked. John Laurinaitis getting fired couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Fuck that dude. Now let's hope Kevin Dunn's on the way out too.
He could be.
Rat-faced fink.
Yeah, cause wasn't the narrative like the reason why he's never really the guy that was kind of untouchable because his dad like saved some tapes or something, and made Vince swear on his unborn kids he wouldn't.
There are a lot of rumors. The idea that Kevin Dunn knew where the bodies were buried, so to speak, was always one of them. But also, he was Vince's quintessential yes man. So, like, him being retained just because Vince trusted him is also just as realistic as the situation. So, who knows? I certainly don't. But yeah, he's not long for this company. Hopefully, especially if he keeps doing the goddamn camera shots. I can't watch the WWE product because it's like fow, 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 fow. It's like, man, you need to calm down. It's like giving a dog Adderall and cocaine. All it's doing is going sprinting around the goddamn room. I can't keep up. But then again, that dude looks like he's on cocaine 24/7. So of course the camera cuts mirror it. Speaking of cocaine, you had to be on some big stuff to think that Jonah's not going to get a big push right now. Jonah, who formerly of WWE as, I don't remember, Jonah Rock, Jonah, Rock Top, Hop Top, I don't know. He spent some time in Impact, had a good 6-ish month run. Now he's in New Japan because there was restrictions. So Jonah couldn't travel to Japan. That's no longer the case. He is now in Japan, and he's now doing the Lord's work. Sunday night, Saturday morning, Friday night. I don't know how Japan does time anymore. Sunday night, Monday morning, one of those is right. Jonah took on Kazuchika Okada on day 13 of the 32nd annual G1 Climax. And he defeated Senor Okada. And now he's near the top of the block with 6 points, tied with Okada, who also has 6 points. This is for A block, by the way. Marcus, we know Jonah's a big deal. We can tell by looking at him. We have eyes. But do you think Jonah's being positioned to be the next great heel monster in New Japan's history, a la Vader?
Might very well be, and how could he not? I mean, he is literally he's a kaiju. You know, we see what he did in Impact. Like I'm not mad at all at his stint in Impact. He came, he did what he did. He put on phenomenal matches.
Put over guys.
Yeah, he put over guys. He got some big wins, had some great moments, and he had like the short run you want to have when you come through a company to do some good business. He did good business at Impact, and then he was able to transition to go. Well, I think his heart was in New Japan and kind of do what we've seen maybe now on an elevated level, depending, like you said, how they book him or how it looks like they're booking him, past somebody like a Jeff Cobb.
Mm-hmm.
It almost seems like he's like the evolved form of a Cobb, you know, in that way.
Your Cobb is evolving. Your Cobb is now a Jonah.
The Cobb is great. No, but
his
yeah,
house got raided today. Did you hear about that? My house, the best house ever, got raided. The FBI wanted my house so much they raided it.
Oh man,
I don't do a good impersonation, but you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Chester Cheeto's ill-begotten son.
Ill-begotten son. Hilarious, but yeah,
I
he's
can see you. I knew.
Absolutely a monster.
You can come up if you know the password. Is it mattress? Congratulations, sir. Bring back those goddamn Cheetos commercials now.
Is it? No, you're not wrong. They need to bring back several like cereal and Cheetos chip commercials.
Gilbert, or was it not Gilbert Godfrey? It was Godfrey, but he was the black actor with the big hair. He did the 7-Up commercials, and he would walk down the street and goes, "I love 7-Up. So make sure you set." What was the slogan? Make 7-Up yours.
What they're doing now with these commercials, because what you said just made me think. Because I was watching Double Toasted the other day, and they talked about it. They're trying to be hip with these commercials now,
mm-hmm.
and it's just coming off tragic. Like, you know, we're fans of Return of the Mac.
Yep. They
got the dude that did the song doing like the chip commercials and calling, I think, Return of the Snack.
Yeah, I also think they did an R&B one with Burger King recently.
Yes.
I forget who it was. I know Mary J. Blige did one maybe like 8 years ago, but I think it was more recent.
Yeah, she saw shit and she can't. I mean, even she was like, that was one of the worst ideas, and she's not wrong. And they canned it, as they should have. But yeah, the Return of the Snack, it's not. It's just not good. So they need to get back to those original Uncle Toucan, Cheeto, hell, even Kool-Aid is a classic. Which is weird because they did that with him in the video. They had him in this like damn near Mr. Xavier type of chair, busting through bushes and stuff. It's just not good, man. Y'all got they must be stopped. But what must not be stopped is somebody like Jonah. You get somebody like that who
he can't be stopped.
Moves the way he does. You gotta capitalize, man.
He's that Sinister at the end of that season 2 episode of X-Men where Cyclops is like, just stay away from my friends. And Sinister goes, I can't. I won't.
There's some great classic lines. I don't know if they're gonna just reverberate everything they had off that show into this new show.
No, they're bringing everyone who's still alive back.
Nice.
Yes. Although, like, it's going to be hard to tell. They need to bring back the scriptwriters because, like, come on. Some of those villains were great, like Magneto. Did you think I'd let you die alone, Xavier? Fools. Heroic fools. Brave. Always the first to die. Like, goddamn, Magnus, you have zero hope. Zero hope had here.
Love it. Love it.
Like, that entire episode, man, was just fucking great. Next time, Remy, let me save your life. What makes you think there's gonna be a next time? Like, at first I was like, yeah, Remy's like, yeah, I'm never gonna be caught in this situation again. But then as an adult, I'm like, oh shit, because he thinks he's gonna die. At first I thought it was cocky hubris. Now I realize that he was just accepting his fate. Damn, that show slaps. That show slaps so hard. Your face. Marcus. If 97, is that what they're calling it? X-Men 97?
Yeah, I think so.
If that show does not fucking deliver, I'm going to burn down part of this country. I'm not sure which part. I'm just going to buy a lot of gas. Just walk up and down 4 or 5 states and light a match and just be like, this is your fault, Disney. This is your fault. I survived season 5 of that show. I didn't need to see a more worse season 6. Like, no, thank you. Oh God, that season. Was it season 5 or was it season 4 that completely went off the rails?
We'd almost had to go back and do a rewatch because I don't remember.
They changed studios, so they
design off.
Yeah, no, the design was definitely off. I think it was like a Vietnamese studio company or like it's somewhere in the Pacific Asian region, and it was like bad. And like this is when they brought in the fuck were those aliens called? The cybernetic alien creatures that like took over people's bodies and shit.
Oh.
And they brought in that one really weird looking dude who called a beast my friend Hank all the time.
Yeah, I'm blanking.
Yeah, it was bad. And then they did like a Robin Hood-esque episode where like Wolverine was like a gargoyle or a troll. Gambit was like a rogue, and Jubilee was the Robin Hood character. It was bad. Oh god, that last season is unwatchable. But anyway, what's not unwatchable is Jonah, and you guys need to check that out. Currently, I don't know what the blocks look like, so I can't give you a block update, but you can find that for yourself. Speaking of updates, NXT's getting one, but it's not going to be back to the black and gold. We're going back to the motherland with the red, white, and blue of the Union Jack. Apparently, NXT UK is going to have an excursion of quote-unquote international talents that will feature Pretty Deadly, which is a tag team, correct? 2 women. Seems like a chick tag team name because they're both pretty but also deadly. Marcus, can I get a ruling on this?
I dig it.
No, I'm actually asking if Pretty Deadly's a tag team of 2 dudes. I got that wrong. Nathan Frazier, Jordan Devlin, who's going by JD McDonough, and A-Kid. Mike Johnson is also reporting that there are discussions over the past few days to have other guys coming, specifically Gallus, Wolfgang, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey. I didn't know Joe Coffey had a brother. And Charlie Dempsey, the son of William Regal. Huh. I didn't know his son was wrestling either. I didn't know he had a son. Actually, I did know he had a son. His son was featured in a WCW magazine profile. Not featured, but William Regal was featured, and his family was featured alongside him. And holy shit, he looks just like his dad. Only he's got curly hair, while Regal has more of that Anson Mount coif going on. I dig it. By the by, I rewatched that one episode of what was it? Superstars, I think. where Bryan Danielson took on William Regal for the first time in WWE, and Regal comes out to his like methodical dun, 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 and then in the middle of it, you just hear, "He's a man, such a man," and Regal just starts corpsing because he's like, "God damn it, Bryan, I know that was you." Playing the old 1998 Steven Regal Manly Man's gimmick music. I love it. It's a great little nugget in wrestling history. Marcus, does the influx of UK talent help the UK brand or make you want to watch NXT UK 2.0 anymore?
So the influx of UK talent into 2.0, huh?
At least on a short-term interim basis, kind of like the way New Japan will send guys on excursion.
I think it could help. I mean, those guys are naturally tougher. They got a more grit look to them, more grit style in ring, which could really help 2.0. That kind of got a 2.0 instantaneously had this pop of color, more. I mean, they got two model looking type of guys, I guess you want to call them that, like called Pretty Deadly. It's just got a lameness to it that I think the UK could really help put some of the edge onto it if they don't do what they did with Devlin's name and make them do it with an aesthetic, because you don't need to take guys like somebody like a Walter. You already ruined them with the name, but you don't need to put them in like Cena type of colors. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm Gunther. Yeah, to keep Walter in red, black, or white trunks. That's it. That's all you gotta do. I don't need some fuchsia pink. I don't need some strange rainbow, leopard pattern nonsense going on with Gunther. Just let him wear something that allows the blood that he dispels from people's faces to show up elegantly on his gear. That's it. Speaking of showing up elegantly on one's gear, Bobby Lashley is apparently open to fighting Mike Tyson and has been kind of offered a fight if things kind of come together. He said, quote, when talking about his willingness to fight, he said, "Yeah, I got to do it all. I want to do bare knuckles, a.k.a. bare knuckle boxing. Every time I say that to my kids, they're like, Dad, like, come on. I just want to do one. Just because I've been doing a lot of boxing and I was teaching boxing for a while, I was like, I can box. I know how to box." I think about 6 months or so ago, one of the guys came over to me and said, "Hey, man, would you be interested in fighting Mike Tyson? One of the promotion wants you to fight Mike Tyson." I was like, I would love to fight Mike Tyson. Why not? I mean, there's purely upside of that, with the exception of getting knocked out. But everything else is an upside. It's Tyson. It's a respect factor. He'd help me back up and try to wake. He'd help me back up and try to wake me up if being knocked out were to happen. But if I were to make knockout noise with his fist, when asked about what happened to the fight, Lashley played coy, but certainly didn't dismiss as something that could happen in the future. I don't know, said Lashley. But some of these guys, because Mike Tyson has been putting out little training videos, they'll send them to me and say, "You want to do this?" Damn. Marcus, are you going to watch a Mike Tyson Bobby Lashley pay-per-view?
as much as I would like to turn my head away from it, I will check it out. And a lot of people are like, this is probably a good time where somebody could take Tyson. I just don't know if I'd ever want that smoke from Tyson, because I remember the guy. Who did he fight? The last guy he fought for the celebrity thing.
Oh, Bernard Hopkins? No, Roy Jones.
Yeah, he still had that sudden impact power.
Mm-hmm.
And Roy Jones didn't want no parts of it. I don't know if anybody. Mike ain't not somebody that them forgot how to ride the bike, so to speak, and he still works out, keep himself in shape. No matter at this stage of the game, a lot of it is as for his physical as it is for his mental. And I mean, the guy was an assassin. That's just not really something you ever lose. In as great a shape as Bobby is, and all the great athleticism that comes with him. I don't know, man, but like I said, I wouldn't necessarily turn away because the intrigue is there, But when's the last time Lashley fought?
Oh, God, 2015, 2016?
Yeah.
It's been a while. And we got to keep this in mind. Like, I know Lashley is Lashley, and he brings a certain something to the table, but Lashley was a wrestler in MMA. He would go for the takedown and would drop enough hammer fists to win the round, and then he'd do it again 2 more times. He was not a standing banger kind of guy. I think he might have like 1 knockout to his name. Let's see if my browser's gonna be cooperative. So let's see. Let's see, because he was very good in MMA because he was a very good wrestler, and he was in insane shape. So that obviously that helped. He was 15-2 with his only 2 losses coming in Strike Force against Chad Griggs, which was a doctor stoppage. So I mean, while yes, Griggs won, it was because Lashley could not medically compete any further. And then in 2012 against James Thompson at Super Fight, which he just lost. Otherwise, he's 15-2 in his career. And he does have 6 knockouts, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All 6 of them are by TKO, not KO. TKO is what happens when the referee waves off a fight, but the fighter has not submitted or quit yet. It is a judgment call, which is why it's technically a knockout and not a knockout. Mike Tyson does have a few TKOs to his resume, but Mike Tyson also has a lot more KOs to his resume. So if Lashley and Tyson were to fight, Tyson would kill Lashley because Lashley wouldn't be allowed to do basically 95% of the things he did well. Yeah, he might have a jab. He has the reach advantage. He has the height advantage, but it's still Tyson. And it's not like Lashley's 30, where he would have the speed and quickness advantage either. Lashley's 46. And Tyson's like, what, 53? So it's not that huge of a difference in age. Tyson's 56, so he's got 10 years on him. And if Tyson's taking care of himself like we think he is, there's really no reason to doubt that Tyson could handle Lashley pretty decisively because, again, Lashley was a wrestler. I'm glad he's doing some boxing, but teaching a boxing class and being Mike Tyson are not the same thing. And I hope Lashley, knows that. His children are very smart to be concerned for their father. Speaking of being concerned, we got to talk about the NWA because Marcus, I am at my wit's end with the goddamn promotion. I love Trevor Murdoch. I love Trevor Murdoch as champion. I think that's a great idea for a champion, especially for a promotion trying to capture the Southern wrestling vibe. Trevor Murdoch reminds me of Stan Hansen and Harley Race rolled in one. And I know people are, well, he's not the same worker. Trevor Murdoch's a damn good worker, especially for a guy who's overweight. One of the other guys I always talk about, you always talk about, the Pope. We like the Pope. D'Angelo De Niro. He's a former boxer, ironically enough. He's a very well put together, in shape, charismatic, kind dude who both stands out in the ring and as a personality. He's the kind of guy that you would want to have the belt on, if not Trevor Murdoch. So putting them together in a main event match at NWA 74 for the NWA World Championship just makes sense. Is that what's happening? No, because we're talking about it. And we don't really talk about things that we like because the things we like, we look forward to. Instead, what's happening is on night 2 of the 74th anniversary of the NWA, Trevor Murdoch is taking on Tyrus, the current NWA television champion. That is about as appealing as eating just disgusting, moldy pizza. I don't know why anyone would want that, but it's happening. The card itself over the 2 nights isn't bad looking. Night 1, I think, will feature the main event of Camille versus Taya Valkyrie for the women's title. Bully Ray is taking on Mike Knox in a tables match. Homicide's taking on Kerry Morton for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. The NWA National Heavyweight Champion, Jax Dane, is taking on Scion. The Burke Invitational will receive the Women's Championship match on night 2. The other night will feature Camille versus the winner of the Burke National. The NWA United States Tag Team Championship 10-team battle royal to crown the NWA United States Tag Team Champions, as well as a street fight for the NWA Women's Tag Team Championship, which is pretty empowered, which is Kenzie Page and Ella Envy. And they're the champions, and they're taking on the former champions of the Hex, Allison Kay and Marty Bell. Really, the only slap in the face to any fan would be Tyrus versus Murdoch. I don't know why we're getting this because Tyrus is 50. And I'm not being facetious. He's 50. He moves around like he's 13 years past his prime. His knees are shot. He's terribly out of shape. He's not charismatic. And oh yeah, he's a giant douchebag who got fired from Fox at least once for his backstage behavior towards women. He's a bad human being. And yet Billy Corgan is not only putting the belt on him, the NWA World's Television Championship, not the heavyweight, but he's now putting him in a feature match on one of their biggest cards of the year. All the while, he just finished beating Odinson, who looks like a guy who you could book, promote, and push to the moon. Yet that dude just had a job out in 5 minutes to Tyrus. If anyone asks me again why I'm not watching the NWA as much anymore, it's this shit right here. Tyrus is not a good person. He doesn't have a fan base, and he's not someone that you can put, the money in. Like, this isn't Matt Cardona, who for some reason is somehow a modicum of a draw on the Indies. But Tyrus? This is Billy Corgan doing a friend a favor. That's the only thing I can think of. Marcus, does the involvement of Tyrus affect your desire to want to keep watching NWA or at least keep up with what's happening there?
Absolutely. I only check in when it's the big shows. I don't watch the weekly product, and it's got a lot of people that I like. I think Homicide's that guy, Pope's that guy, the Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the women there are phenomenal. And a lot of other names, but there's such an emphasis on him, and he got a group and whatnot. Like, yeah, they even got Crimson there. Crimson. I mean, they even got our old veterans of war in the NWA.
Mm-hmm.
From TNA, but Tyrus, he's not just there; he's there with emphasis. So it's a lot of stuff around him. He beats a lot of guys he probably shouldn't beat, and I get it. He's big and he's imposing, and you need a big monster guy, but you can go find that somewhere else. You can make Bram into like the successor to Abyss again, and have him cracking people over the head with spiked 2x4s and whatnot. Again, if you need to. But yeah, it's just a turnoff, man. Because like you said, he's a douche on screen, he's a douche off screen, and like you said, he's 40, he's completely out
50.
of shape. He's 50, he's completely out of shape, and or maybe he's in enough wrestling shape to make it look credible. But he's a complete and utter turnoff in every sense of the word for me.
Marcus, I will always kind of make allowances for different opinions. He is not in shape. I mean, Marcus, I watched his last match with Odinson. He was staggering. He was constantly holding the ropes. Like, whatever he was as a worker, he no longer is. And he's still given a huge push, and it makes no fucking sense whatsoever outside of Corgan wanting to cater to Fox Nation. Like, there's no real good reason to keep this dude around. So I don't know why he is.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to, like, eventually try to put him over somebody like the champion and Murdoch. Murdoch to me is a guy you look to when you talk about, like an NWA style guy in terms of look and his demeanor and just everything. I think he's that quintessential guy. Obviously, we got NWA in the modern era, but I think somebody like a Trevor Murdoch still very much well holds up. He's dependable. He's consistent. He's got that feel to him. He just works out. And then you got somebody that I think the Pope could also do a great thing with that. Like, but just Tyrus is the antithesis of everything you could list off. 15 guys would be great to be the champion as opposed to him. So, and obviously this is our opinion. Somebody else might look at him and think he's the best thing since Yokozuna.
They'd be wrong. This is not an opinion statement. This is a factual statement. Tyrus is not charismatic, he's not likable, and he does not have the ability to go in the ring. I don't need him to be Kenny Omega. I just need him not to suck. If you were reminding me of Abyss circa, 2016 with Grado at Bound for Glory, where Abyss literally just stood in one spot the entire match while Grado did all the work, you have no business being in the ring. And Tyrus doesn't. Go away. Speaking of going away, Ric Flair never's going away. He's never going away. So, what is it called? The World Wrestling Council out of Puerto Rico had their 49th annual aniversario, which I think the main event was going to be. Let me see if I can find this on Wikipedia. I don't know if this was the main event or not, but it seems like it would have been considering who was involved. WWC Aniversario. Let's move down to 2022. Okay, so it was the main event. So here's the card. There's going to be some names you recognize, most names you won't. Andrade 7087 defeats Emi Roy, Yovan, and Pablo Marquez for the World Junior Championship. El Gran Armando defeats Macabro. La Seguridad de Dynasty defeats La Revolucion. Gigante Nihan defeats Black Pain. The last two were for the World Tag Team and Puerto Rico Championships, respectively. Ray Gonzalez defeated the Precious One Gilbert. Some Jamoke named Luke Gallows defeated some Jamoke named Damian Sandow. Huracan Castillo defeats Joe Bravo. Ah, yes, the great Joe Bravo. How I know him well. Mike Nice defeats Brian Idol to retain the television championship. Intellectico 5 Estrellas defeats Primo Colon and Yves Yvant. I think I said that right. And then in the main event, Carlito defeated Andrade El Idolo. But, yeah, here's the thing. Ray Gonzalez was special guest referee, but also Ric Flair was in the corner of Andrade. And so that means that Carlito's father, Carly Colon, came out. And apparently Flair and Carly Colon got into it in a bit of a old folks shoving match. Marcus, we are a week removed from Ric Flair's last match. And quite frankly, I hope to God that we can somehow find a way to go back in time after we created a time machine and get rid of that match from existence, because it was terrible. But yet here we are now seeing him doing more nonsense, getting involved physically with Carly Colon, who I think is 70 himself. Are you burnt out with Ric Flair doing this? Or is this kind of the role you wouldn't mind seeing him in?
Honestly, man, if we had the Daniel Bryan sound effects, I'd be hitting it right now. I just want to go sit down, man, enjoy the rest of his life. You know, Ric Flair is no saint. But he's not the biggest scumbag we've seen come across the business. Look, man, man's been through a lot. Feels like in some ways he's still going through a lot. If I was him, I wouldn't put myself through anymore. But I just feel like a lot of guys, this is his life high. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's always mastered all the drinking and divorcing. But this wrestling thing, it's like breathing for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you can't really let it go. And when the opportunity presents itself, he got to go with it, even though he's supposed to be what he's twice retired now, 3 times maybe.
Close to.
You know, so maybe these manager scuffles is his happy medium. You know, but in terms of a match, he don't need to be having no more matches. But I can see him doing the Ric Flair freak out thing, you know, ringside, whipping the shirt off, doing the Ric Flair of it all, dropping the elbow on the damn coat, you know, to pop the crowd. I could see him doing that, but I wouldn't do that too hard either, because again, the man has a pacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time you see him feigning a heart attack, he might not be feigning one, which is why I want him to sit down. You know, but again, you can't tell that man nothing. You know.
No, unfortunately you can't, because even though his liver is shot and he nearly died from drinking, he's still drinking. Speaking of needing to drink to get through something, Matt Cardona's coming back. Yay. So the NWA announced that Cardona's coming back to make his in-ring return at NWA 74 later this month on August the 27th. He will be competing on night 1 of the 2-night event. So the second show is on August 28th. Cardona returns to the in-ring action at NWA 74 in an earlier than expected return to action. Matt Cardona will be on hand to compete against a mystery handpicked opponent. So don't miss the anniversary celebration of NWA. Cardona replied, "I'm back. I'll make my return in the ring on August 27th. I will handpick my opponent from the incredibly talented NJPW roster. Who's it going to be? Still here, almost ready, always ready. Cardona has been sidelined with a torn bicep, an injury suffered during a match against Blake Christian at GCW's Cage of Survival on June 5th. Despite being unable to compete, Cardona has continued to make non-wrestling appearances, including Ric Flair's last match. Cardona is also set to renew his wedding vows to Chelsea Green at GCW Homecoming this month, and he's also scheduled to compete in the Wrestling Showcase Tournament against Tatanka. I read that right, on September 3rd. What? Really? Tatanka. 61-year-old Corey Chavez, Donald Trump's only tribal American supporter.
Oh my God.
My favorite wrestler from 1993 WWE. That Tatanka. So apparently, the tournament is Cardona versus Tatanka, Steve Macklin versus Jacob Fatu, Swan versus Johnny Showcase, aka Johnny Morrison, and Killer Kross versus Tony Nese. So that's gonna be a thing.
Take Cardona and Tatanka off that. That's not a bad card.
I don't know who's putting on the Wrestling Showcase, but there is a video I'm gonna try to watch. Yep, it's that. The Wrestling Showcase. I guess the Wrestling Showcase itself is the promotion. So Marcus, Cardona's back. Are we excited? That'll do it. That's the show because that's the answer. Stifling silence. I can't imagine anyone's too excited about Matt Cardona's coming back.
Well, we know one person.
Do we?
But I mean, he's conveniently married to her. But like I said,
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that might be more to get him away from her and out of the house. You know. But I guess that would still count. Marcus, anything else catch your eye tonight that you want to talk about?
no, man, that pretty much about covers it.
Dexter Lumis is back in the WWE.
I mean, they'd be smart. I didn't know he was gone. He fell through with the, I guess. Well, I guess that brings it full circle, doesn't it? But that guy, we know how talented that guy is. He can go. He got that weird, creepy demeanor about him. Like that, the character he was playing is like the evolved version of what we had to sit through when he was creeping on Christy Hemme.
Yup.
Which again, you know, the crawl before you could walk. We went through a lot of crawling with a lot of character stuff that we see, and you know, guys walk with now as long-time TNA fans. But yeah, that's interesting. The guy's too talented to be wasted, but we'll see what he does. Well, they might put him on the main roster and have him crossing with Kross. You never know. That could be a thing. But,
It seems like they're putting him with AJ Styles in a feud. Yeah.
Oh, that's the guy they had teetering out of the audience. Okay. I thought that was a real.
Nope.
That's interesting. Okay, well, always find some for our boy Styles to do. Yeah, but that's about it. You caught up on Impact? What's going on over there?
Nothing relevant to talk about yet. They're coming up to their next showcase here in a little bit.
Emergency.
I think that's this weekend, actually. Let me double check.
I really need to get caught up.
Yep, the 12th.
Yep, that's my cue.
So the cards, Alexander versus Shelley for the world title. Grace versus Medium for the Knockouts world title. Rosemary and Taya versus VXT, which is Chelsea Green and Deanna Protzer for the Knockouts world title. Knockouts world tag team title. So that's not so nice. Bandito versus Ray Horace. That's going to be great. Bullet Club Ace Austin, Chris Bay, Doc, Carl, and Hikuleo taking on Honor No More's Eddie, Matt, Mike, P, CO, and Vincent. And then we have Sami Callihan versus Steve Macklin, Chris Sabin, and Kushida taking on Violent by Design's Diener and Joe Doring. And then we got Rocky Romero, or Mike Bailey taking on Jack Evans. So it's going to be Mike Bailey versus Jack Evans because they're not giving the belt to Rocky Romero. So emerging card looks solid. You can watch that on Impact Plus.
Nice.
That's going to be dope. No Trey Miguel, though. So if you're a Trey Miguel fan, sorry. So with that being said, we're going to take off for the night. It's been a long one. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at NERDCORP and on the website at realnerdcorp.com. I spelled our Twitter account incorrectly. It's NERDCORP. There we go. Forgot the last 4 digits of that one. Letters, 9 digits. You know what I mean. I feel like Clarion. You know what I mean. Marcus can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyshow. Be sure to follow the guys at Powerbomb Jitsu. I'm pretty sure we owe them money for some reason. Recompense, slander, something. They're friends of the show, we hope. Otherwise, it's one of those sitcoms where like the two characters are always hanging out, but the one character thinks they're friends, the other character can't fucking stand them. So we'll figure out which one's which eventually. You can find me on Twitter at ChadNerdCorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut. Be sure to follow us on the website once again at realnerdcorp.com. Be sure to always follow us on Mondays. That's when we do our shows. I know we were supposed to do the Baywatch this week, but I got sidetracked with other commitments. But I will have the episode for you this week, Marcus, because I do want to get that started because I think it'll be a hell of a lot of fun. And it won't be that long. It'll only be like 20 or 30 minutes. So
We'll get to it eventually, people. It's not going anywhere, thank you.
no. Yes, we don't have to worry about new episodes. Like, we're good. I do want to start it before the end of summer, though, because that's kind of the whole gist. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for getting us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.